Rachel Hayes first saw Damien Russo through the lens of a camera. Rain streaked down the windshield of her parked car, blurring the entrance of the private hotel across the street. Black SUVs lined the curb like polished predators. Men in dark suits stood beneath umbrellas, their faces expressionless, their hands folded in front of them like they were guarding royalty or a funeral. Rachel adjusted the focus on her camera and held her breath. Then he appeared. Damien Russo, the most feared mafia boss in New York. He stepped out of the hotel without hurry, dressed in a black tailored coat, his expression calm enough to make the entire street feel dangerous. Men moved around him with silent precision. Doors opened before he touched them. Heads turned away as he passed. Not out of respect, out of fear. Rachel pressed the shutter. One photo, then another. This was the man she had spent 6 months chasing. Every leaked document, every murdered witness, every missing source, every shell company, every suspicious campaign donation somehow, all of it pointed back to him, Damien Russo. A man no prosecutor could touch. A man no rival could corner. A man whose name could make a police captain lower his voice. Rachel had built her career exposing powerful men, but this story was different. This story could make her famous, or get her killed. Her phone buzzed in the cup holder. Unknown number. The message was short. Stop digging before they bury you with the truth. Rachel stared at the screen, her pulse tightening. Then she looked back across the street. Damien Russo had stopped beside his SUV. Slowly, he turned his head. His eyes found her car, found her camera, found her. Rachel froze. There were 4 lanes of traffic between them, a veil of rain, a window, darkness. But somehow, it felt as if he were standing inches away, watching her breathe. For one long second, neither of them moved. Then Damien Russo smiled. Not warmly, not kindly. A small, controlled curve of his mouth that felt less like amusement and more like a warning. Rachel lowered the camera, and that was when the first bullet shattered her passenger window. Glass exploded across her lap. She screamed and ducked as another shot tore through the windshield. The world became rain, gunfire, and headlights. Rachel fumbled for the door handle, but her hands were shaking too badly. Across the street, people scattered. Drivers slammed their brakes. Someone screamed. A shadow moved through the rain. Fast, controlled, terrifying. Her driver's door ripped open. Rachel swung the camera like a weapon. A hand caught her wrist. Move? The voice was low, calm, commanding. Rachel looked up. Damien Russo stood over her. Rain soaked his black coat. His eyes were darker than the street behind him. She couldn't speak. He pulled her from the car, just as another bullet punched through the seat where her head had been. Damien shoved her behind him. His body blocked hers completely. A gunman stood at the far end of the street. Damien did not flinch. He raised one hand. His men moved. The gunfire ended in seconds. Rachel stood behind the man she had been trying to expose. Her breath broken, her camera hanging from her neck, her life suddenly and violently no longer her own. Damien turned to her. "Are you hurt?" Rachel stared at him. "You just saved me." "Yes. Why?" His eyes dropped briefly to the blood on her hand from the broken glass, then back to her face. "Because if someone wanted you dead tonight, it means you finally found something real." She pulled her wrist away. "You're supposed to be the one who wants me dead." A flicker passed through his expression, something almost like satisfaction. "Then you've been asking the wrong questions." Before she could answer, he took her arm and guided her toward his SUV. Rachel resisted immediately. "I'm not getting in your car." Damien glanced over her shoulder. More sirens now. More people staring. More phones recording. His voice remained quiet. "Then stay here and wait for whoever missed the first time." Rachel hated that the choice took only 1 second. She got in. The SUV door closed behind her, and New York disappeared behind black glass. Inside the car, everything smelled like leather, rain, and danger. Damien sat beside her, close enough that Rachel could feel the controlled stillness of him. He didn't look panicked. He didn't look angry. He looked like a man who had expected violence and was only mildly irritated by the timing. Rachel pressed a napkin to her bleeding hand. "Where are you taking me?" "Somewhere you'll live long enough to regret following me. I'm a journalist. I noticed. That means people know where I am." "No," he said. "It means people know where you were." Her stomach tightened. The SUV turned into an underground garage beneath a luxury tower overlooking the Hudson River. Guards appeared before the vehicle stopped. Elevators opened, without buttons being pressed. Damien led her into a penthouse that looked more like a private fortress than a home. Glass walls, dark marble, low, golden light. A city glittering beneath storm clouds. Rachel walked in slowly, trying not to look impressed, trying not to look afraid. Damien removed his coat and handed it to a guard without looking. His white shirt was wet from the rain, clinging to the powerful lines of his shoulders. Rachel forced her attention away. "I want my phone. You'll get it back." "When?" "When I know it won't lead them here." "Them who?" Damien poured a glass of water and set it on the table in front of her. Not whiskey. Not wine. Water. The detail irritated her because it felt almost considerate. "You tell me," he said. Rachel laughed once. "You want me to tell you who tried to kill me? I want to know what you published, who you met, and what file you opened before someone decided shooting you in public was worth the attention." She folded her arms. "You expect me to give my investigation to the man I'm investigating?" Damien's eyes sharpened. "I expect you to survive long enough to realize I'm not the story. You are absolutely the story." "No," he said, stepping closer. "I am the name they put on it, so you stop looking past me." The silence tightened. Rachel hated how steady he was. Most guilty men either threatened her or tried to charm her. Damien did neither. He stood there like a locked door, daring her to find the key. "I have documents," she said carefully. "I know. Photos. I know. Witness testimony." His jaw shifted. "Your witness is dead." Rachel's breath caught. Damien watched her expression change. "You didn't know." Her voice dropped. "Who?" "Elias Ford." The room seemed to tilt. Elias had been her strongest source. A former financial advisor with enough records to connect Damien's organization to illegal campaign money, police bribes, and 3 unsolved murders. Rachel had spoken to him that morning. He was alive 6 hours ago. He died 2 hours ago. Rachel backed away from him. "No." Damien's voice softened by 1 degree. "I'm sorry." The words landed strangely. Too human. Too quiet. Rachel shook her head. "You killed him." "No." "You expect me to believe that?" "I expect you to look at the timing. My source gives me evidence against you. Then he dies. And then someone tries to kill you before you can publish." Rachel stopped. Damien's eyes held hers. "If I wanted Elias dead, he would have disappeared quietly. If I wanted you dead, Rachel, you would not have heard the shot." Her blood went cold. It was not a threat. It was a fact. And somehow, that was worse. He stepped back, giving her space. "You're being used." "By who?" Damien turned toward the windows. Lightning flashed over Manhattan. Someone powerful enough to make you believe a lie. Someone protected enough to use my name without permission. Someone scared enough to kill everyone who sees the real trail. Rachel swallowed. "And you know who it is?" "I suspect." "Tell me." He looked back at her. "No." "Why?" "Because you'll run toward him with a recorder in your hand and call it courage." Rachel's eyes narrowed. "That is my job." "No," Damien said. "That is how you die." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Rain tapped against the glass. Below them, New York kept moving, unaware that Rachel Hayes's life had split into before and after. Before Damien Russo saved her, and after she realized he might not be the monster she needed him to be. She stayed in the penthouse that night because every exit had a guard, and every guard looked like he would rather jump into the Hudson than disobey Damien Russo. Rachel slept badly in a guest room larger than her apartment. At 3 in the morning, she woke from a nightmare of glass breaking and found Damien standing on the balcony outside her room, smoking in the rain. He was alone. No guards. No phone. Just a man staring at the city like he owned it and hated it. Rachel stepped outside, wrapping her arms around herself. "Do you ever sleep?" Damien didn't turn. "Not when someone is trying to kill the woman in my house. I'm not in your house by choice. You're alive by choice." "My choice?" "Mine." She should have been furious. She was. But beneath the anger was something more complicated. He had saved her. Twice now, if she counted the SUV. "You said I'm being used," she said. "Prove it." Damien exhaled slowly. "Your documents came from a federal leak." "How do you know?" "Because my name was spelled wrong in one of the old wire transfer records." Rachel frowned. "That's your proof?" "My organization does many things, Miss Hayes." Despite herself, Rachel almost smiled. Almost. Damien noticed. His gaze moved to her mouth, then away. The moment was brief. Too brief. But Rachel felt it. A dangerous flicker of awareness in the dark. She looked away first. "Who benefits from framing you?" "Senator Malcolm Vail." Rachel's stomach dropped. Vail was untouchable. A decorated public servant. A future presidential candidate. The man leading the city's anti-organized crime commission. "That's impossible." Damien's expression did not change. "That sentence has protected many monsters." Rachel shook her head. "I've interviewed him twice. He's pushing the investigation into your family. He's directing it away from himself. Why would he frame you?" "Control. Of what?" "Ports. Judges. Police contracts. Union routes. Real estate. The pieces of a city that never appear on campaign posters." Rachel stared at him. "And what are you? Innocent?" A faint, cold smile touched his mouth. "No, at least he didn't lie." "I have blood on my hands," he said. "But not Elias Ford's. Not yours. And not the 3 witnesses whose deaths are being placed at my door." Rachel studied him. She wanted to hate him cleanly. It would have been easier. But Damien Russo did not offer her the comfort of simplicity. He was guilty of something. Just maybe not this. The next morning, Rachel demanded her laptop. Damien said no. She demanded her phone. He said no again. By noon, she had broken into his office. She expected alarms. Instead, she found him sitting at the desk, waiting. "You pick locks badly," he said. Rachel froze. "Were you just sitting here?" "Yes." "Waiting for me?" "Yes." "That's disturbing." "That's accurate." She glared at him. "I need my files. You need breakfast. I need evidence. You need stitches checked. I need you to stop deciding what I need." Damien rose slowly. Rachel held her ground, even as every instinct told her to step back. He stopped, inches away. Too close. Touching. Not touching. Never touching. Without permission. But close enough that she could see the faint scar near his jaw, the dark tiredness under his eyes, the control he wore like armor. "You are used to men trying to silence you," he said. Her breath caught. "I am not silencing you." "Then what are you doing?" "Keeping you alive until your voice matters." The words struck something deep in her. Rachel looked away. For the first time, Damien reached toward her. His fingers stopped near a cut on her cheek. He did not touch. He waited. That restraint unsettled her more than possession would have. After a moment, Rachel whispered, "Don't." His hand lowered immediately. "As you wish." She hated the way that sounded, like obedience from a man who terrified everyone else. Over the next 3 days, Rachel and Damien became unwilling allies. Not friends. Never that. She investigated from inside his penthouse fortress. He gave her access to documents no journalist had ever seen. Real accounts, real names, real connections. Not enough to expose him. Enough to expose the lie. Every file made the conspiracy clearer. Senator Vale had been working with a rival syndicate called the Orsini Group. They wanted Damien weakened, indicted, isolated, and eventually killed. Rachel's articles were supposed to become the public weapon that justified the war. Her career had been aimed like a gun, and she had pulled the trigger without knowing who loaded it. The guilt hit her harder than fear. One night, after discovering that one of her published reports had caused a police raid where 2 innocent dock workers died, Rachel locked herself in the penthouse library. Damien found her sitting on the floor between shelves of old books, her laptop open, tears silent on her face. He stopped at the doorway. For once, he said nothing. Rachel wiped her face angrily. "Don't look at me like that." "Like what?" "Like you knew this would break me." His voice was quiet. "I knew the truth would hurt. You could have told me sooner. You would not have believed me." "I might have." "No," he said. "You needed me to be the villain." Rachel looked up at him. "And are you?" Damien stepped into the room. "In many stories, yes. In mine?" He stopped in front of her. The silence stretched. Then he said, "I don't know yet." That was the most honest thing he had ever given her. Rachel laughed softly through the tears. "You're not good at comfort." "No." "Do you ever try?" "Rarely." "Why?" His eyes held hers. "It makes people matter." The room changed. Just like that. Rachel felt it in her chest. The dangerous shift from suspicion to understanding. Damien Russo did not fear bullets. He did not fear prison. He did not fear men with armies. He feared needing someone. And somehow, impossibly, she was becoming someone he noticed too much. Someone whose pain disturbed his control. Someone whose presence made him hesitate. That night, they almost kissed. It happened in the hallway outside her room. A storm rolled over the city. The lights flickered. Rachel stumbled when thunder cracked too close, and Damien caught her by the waist. For one breath, she was pressed against him. His hand was firm but careful, protective, restrained. His eyes dropped to her lips. Rachel should have stepped back. She didn't. "Damien," she whispered. His name sounded different in the dark. Less like an accusation. More like a confession. His jaw tightened. "No." He released her and stepped away. The rejection stung before she understood it. "No?" His voice was rough. "You're afraid. You're trapped in my world. You don't know what you feel." Rachel lifted her chin. "Don't tell me what I feel. Then I'll tell you what I am." His eyes darkened. "I am not a man women survive easily." She swallowed. "I didn't ask for easy." Something broke across his face. Not softness. Hunger. Fear. Denial. Then he turned away. "Good night, Rachel." She watched him disappear down the hall, furious because part of her respected him for leaving, and another part wished he hadn't. The public scandal erupted 2 days later. Rachel's name hit every major news outlet. Not as a journalist, as an alleged accomplice. Leaked photos showed her entering Damien's building. Edited security footage suggested she had taken payments from his organization. Anonymous sources claimed she had fabricated evidence to protect him. Her career collapsed in 6 hours. Her editor stopped taking her calls. Her colleagues went silent. The world she had built with truth turned on her with a lie. Rachel stood in Damien's office, watching the headlines spread across his wall of screens. Investigative journalist Rachel Hayes, linked to Mafia Boss Damien Russo. Her hands trembled. Damien entered behind her. He looked at the screens, then at her. "Whoever did this moves faster than I expected." Rachel laughed bitterly. "That's your reaction?" His eyes sharpened. What would you prefer? I don't know. Rage? Shock? Something human? Damien's expression hardened. If I rage now, men die before we know which ones deserve it. Rachel turned on him. My life is ruined. Yes. The brutal honesty stole her breath. And you're just standing there. I'm standing between you and the people who want it ended. She stepped closer, anger burning through the fear. You don't get to make this about protection. That is exactly what this is. No, this is control. His voice dropped. Careful. Or what? The room went silent. Damien stared at her. Every guard outside the door seemed to stop breathing. Rachel knew she had crossed a line. She didn't care. You're so used to owning every room you walk into that you think protecting someone means deciding everything for them. Damien moved closer. Slow. Dangerous. You think I want this? I think you want me dependent on you. His eyes flashed. For the first time, real anger. No. Then, what do you want? The question landed between them like a match in gasoline. Damien looked at her. Really looked. The cold mask slipped. Just enough. I want you alive, he said. I want you safe. I want you out of rooms where men discuss your death like a business expense. His voice roughened. And I want to stop thinking about the fact that if I had been 3 seconds later that night, your blood would have been on the pavement. Rachel's anger faltered her. Damien stepped back as if he hated what he had revealed. There, he said coldly. Something human. Then he walked out. That was the first time Rachel realized Damien was no longer protecting an asset. He was protecting her, and that terrified him. Vale made his next move at a black tie charity gala, a public event at a luxury museum. Senator Malcolm Vale would be there. So would half the city's elite. Rachel wanted to attend. Damien refused. She went anyway. She arrived in a black dress under a borrowed name, a hidden recorder clipped beneath her necklace, her heart beating like a warning. The museum glittered with champagne, diamonds, and lies. Vale stood beneath a massive chandelier, smiling for cameras. He looked warm, honorable, beloved. Rachel approached him with a glass of untouched champagne. Senator. Vale turned. His smile did not change. Rachel Hayes. You are either very brave or very desperate. Usually both. He laughed softly. People warned me you were sharp. People warned me you were honest. His eyes cooled. Did they? Rachel stepped closer. I know about Orsini. For the first time, Vale's smile slipped. Only for a second. But the recorder caught the silence. You should have stayed in Russo's cage, Vale said quietly. Rachel's blood chilled. Is that what you think protection is? No, he said. That is what he thinks love is. Before Rachel could respond, the lights went out. Screams filled the museum. Gunfire cracked through the dark. Rachel ducked, but someone grabbed her from behind. Then another hand seized her wrist. Damien. She knew before she saw him. His grip was controlled but fierce, pulling her behind a marble column as bullets shattered glass above them. You disobey beautifully, he said, voice low against her ear. Despite the terror, Rachel snapped. This is not the time. I disagree. He turned, fired twice into the dark, and pulled her toward a service corridor. How did you know I was here? His jaw tightened. I always know where you are. She should have hated that. At that moment, with gunmen in the museum and Vale's men hunting her through the dark, she didn't. They ran through back corridors, past priceless paintings and emergency lights. Damien kept himself between her and every open space. Once, when gunfire erupted behind them, he shoved her against the wall and covered her body with his own. His breath hit her hair. Her fingers gripped his shirt. For one suspended second, danger and intimacy became indistinguishable. Still think I'm the villain? He murmured. Rachel looked up at him. I think you're dangerous. His eyes dropped to her mouth. I never denied that. The door beside them burst open. The moment shattered. Damien moved like violence given form. Fast, precise, controlled. When it ended, 2 attackers were down and Rachel was shaking. He turned back to her, breathing hard. "You're bleeding." "It's not mine," she whispered. For a second, something haunted passed through his eyes. Then he took her face in both hands. Not rough, not possessive, terrified. "Do not ever do this again." Rachel stared at him. "Come after the truth? Come where I cannot reach you fast enough." Her chest tightened. "Damien." A bullet struck the wall beside them. He grabbed her hand. They ran. The gala attack changed everything. Rachel's hidden recording proved Vale knew more than he admitted, but not enough to expose him fully. Damien's enemies moved openly now. The Orsini group declared war. 2 of Damien's warehouses burned. A judge connected to Vale vanished. Rachel's apartment was destroyed in a staged gas explosion. Her old life became ash on the evening news. Damien brought her to a hidden safe house outside the city, a candlelit mansion surrounded by winter woods and armed guards. For days, the world narrowed to strategy, rain, and the unbearable tension between them. Rachel wrote. Damien planned. They argued. They almost touched. They stopped. Every night, Damien stood outside her door like a man punishing himself. On the 5th night, Rachel opened it. He was there. Of course he was. "You can come in," she said. His eyes lifted. "You shouldn't ask that. I know what I'm asking." "No," he said. "You don't." Rachel stepped closer. "I know you saved my life. That isn't love. I know you're afraid of wanting me." His expression went still. "That is not a safe thing to say to me." "Good." His control thinned. Rachel could see it. The war inside him. The man who wanted her. The monster who feared ruining her. The protector who didn't know how to be gentle with anything he loved. She reached for his hand. He looked down as if the touch were a weapon. "I spent months trying to destroy you," she whispered. "Yes, and now, I don't know how to stop trusting you." Damien's hand closed around hers, slowly, carefully, like she was something sacred. "You should run from me." "I tried." "And?" She looked up at him. "You kept saving me." The kiss did not happen quickly. Damien gave her every chance to step back. She didn't. When his mouth finally touched hers, it was restrained at first, controlled like everything else about him. But Rachel felt the moment control failed. His hand moved to her waist. Her fingers gripped his collar. The kiss deepened into something desperate and quiet and dangerous, as if both of them understood that after this, nothing would be simple again. When he pulled away, his forehead rested against hers. "I can't be harmless for you," he said. Rachel's voice trembled. "I'm not asking you to be harmless." His eyes closed. "That may be the worst thing you could have said." But he kissed her again. The betrayal came the next morning. Rachel's editor, Nora Valles, called from a blocked number, crying. She said she had proof. Real proof. Documents that would expose Senator Vale and clear Rachel's name. She begged Rachel to meet alone. Damien said it was a trap. Rachel knew he was probably right, but Nora had been her mentor for 7 years. Rachel went. She left behind a note because she could not bear the look Damien would give her if she told him face to face. The meeting place was an abandoned newsroom in Brooklyn, the office of a newspaper that had shut down years ago. Dust covered the desks. Old headlines yellowed on the walls. Rachel found Nora in the archive room, pale and shaking. "I'm sorry," Nora whispered. Rachel stopped. Too late. Men emerged from the shadows. Rachel fought, screamed, reached for the recorder in her coat. A needle pierced her neck. The last thing she heard was Nora sobbing. "He has my son." When Damien found the note, he did not shout. He did not break the desk. He did not threaten the room. He went silent, and every man who knew him understood that silence was worse. Within 10 minutes, New York began to close. Bridges monitored. Airports watched. Police scanners hijacked. Orsini accounts drained. Veiled donors exposed. Damien unleashed everything he had spent years keeping hidden. Not for territory. Not for revenge. For Rachel. One of his men approached carefully. "Boss, if we move like this, there's no going back." Damien adjusted his cuffs. There was no going back when they touched her. Rachel woke in the abandoned top floors of the Aurelia Hotel, a once luxury landmark overlooking the Hudson River, now half renovated and empty. Her wrists were tied. Her head throbbed. Senator Vale stood near the windows, looking out at the city. "You almost ruined everything," he said. Rachel forced herself upright. "Good." He smiled. "You remind me of your father." Her blood went cold. "My father was a police officer. Your father was an honest man in a dishonest city." Rachel stared at him. "What do you know about my father?" Vale turned. "He discovered my first arrangement with the Orsini family 22 years ago. He planned to testify." Rachel's heart stopped. Her father had died in a car accident when she was 9. At least, that was what she had been told. Vale's smile softened with cruelty. "You became a journalist because you thought truth could save people. That was always the saddest part." Rachel's eyes burned. "You killed him." "I protected a future." The door opened. Nora was dragged in, bruised and crying. "I'm sorry," she whispered again. Rachel looked at her and understood. Betrayal was rarely born from evil. Sometimes it was born from fear. Vale stepped closer. "You will record a confession. You will admit Russo paid you. You will admit your investigation was fabricated. Then you will disappear." "And Damien?" Vale smiled. "Russo is already coming. Men like him are predictable when they finally love something." Below, the first explosion shook the building. Vale's smile vanished. Gunfire erupted from the lower floors. Rachel lifted her head. Damien had arrived. The battle moved upward through the hotel like a storm. Rachel heard shouting, breaking glass, boots on marble, gunfire echoing through empty luxury corridors. Vale grew more nervous with every passing minute. Finally, the doors burst open. Damien stepped inside. Blood marked his white shirt. Rain clung to his dark hair. His eyes found Rachel first. Only Rachel. Everything else became secondary. "Let her go," he said. Vale pressed a gun to Rachel's side. "You disappoint me, Russo. I thought power meant more to you." Damien's face was unreadable. It did. "And now?" Damien looked at Rachel. The room seemed to hold its breath. "Now it has a name." Rachel's eyes filled. Vale laughed. "There it is. The great weakness." "No," Damien said. His voice was quiet. "Deadly. She is the only reason you are still breathing." The next seconds happened violently. Nora screamed. The lights flickered. Damien moved. Vale fired. Rachel felt the shot tear past her shoulder as Damien dragged her down and shielded her with his body. His men stormed the room. Glass shattered behind them. Vale tried to run. Damien caught him before he reached the door. For one terrible moment, Rachel saw the full darkness of the man she had fallen for. The feared Mafia Boss. The violence. The control. The thing New York whispered about. But then Damien looked back at her and stopped. Not because Vale deserved mercy. Because Rachel was watching. Because what she thought of him mattered. Because love, somehow, had become stronger than rage. Damien handed Vale over alive. "Let the world hear him confess," he said. Rachel understood what it cost him. Not the mercy, the restraint. The final story broke at dawn. Rachel published everything. The fabricated evidence, the murdered witnesses, the Orsini connection, Vale's confession, her father's murder. Damien's name appeared in the article, but not as the villain the city expected, as the man framed by a political machine, as the man who saved the journalist trying to destroy him. The world devoured the story. Veil fell. The Orsini network collapsed under federal pressure. Rachel's reputation returned stronger than before, but she was no longer the same woman who had once chased headlines without seeing the shadows behind them. And Damien was no longer just a shadow. Weeks later, Rachel stood on the rooftop of Damien's penthouse as the city glowed beneath them. The rain had stopped. For once, New York looked almost clean. Damien stood beside her, hands in his pockets, face turned toward the skyline. "You could still publish the rest," he said. Rachel looked at him. "The rest? Me." The word carried everything. His crimes, his past, his empire. The darkness he had never pretended was not there. Rachel turned fully toward him. "I won't lie for you. I know. I won't become your publicist. I would hate that. I won't look away from what you are." His eyes met hers. "I would never ask you to." She stepped closer. "But I also won't pretend you're only one thing." For a long moment, Damien said nothing. Then he reached into his coat and handed her a small black drive. Rachel stared at it. "What is this?" "Everything you need to destroy me." Her breath caught. "Damien, I don't want your trust because you have no choice." His voice was low. "I want it because you do." Rachel looked at the drive in her palm, then at the man who had saved her, frightened her, challenged her, and broken every simple definition she once believed in. "You're impossible," she whispered. "Yes, you're dangerous. Yes, you're still trying to control the ending." A faint smile touched his mouth. "Old habit." Rachel slipped the drive into her pocket. "I'll keep it, I know. And if you ever become the man they said you were," his eyes softened in the smallest, rarest way, "you'll use it." "Yes." Damien stepped closer. "Good." The city wind moved between them. Rachel studied him. "Doesn't that scare you?" His gaze dropped to her mouth, then returned to her eyes. "You scare me." It was the closest thing to a confession he had ever made. Rachel smiled softly. "Good." This time, when he reached for her, he did not stop halfway. He touched her cheek with the careful reverence of a man who had spent his whole life taking, commanding, surviving, and had finally found someone he wanted to choose him freely. Rachel leaned into his hand. Below them, New York whispered, judged, watched, and waited. There would be more enemies, more secrets, more nights when love would feel like standing too close to a flame. But Rachel no longer saw Damien Russo as the story she needed to destroy. And Damien no longer saw Rachel Hayes as the journalist he needed to keep alive from a distance. She was the woman who had walked into his darkness with a recorder in her hand and fear in her chest. He was the man who had stepped in front of a bullet for the woman trying to expose him. Together, they stood above a city built on lies, holding the one dangerous truth neither of them could deny. Some loves begin with trust. Theirs began with war. And somehow, that made the devotion feel even more impossible to escape.